Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Word with Kellie Scott Reed. I'm the Assistant Editor-in-Chief of Roy Fagnon Press. We are here today with Lauren Theresa. Thank you so much for joining us today. One of the people we've published in our blog, but is accomplished on her own. Could you let us know a little bit about yourself?
Sure, and thank you so much. This is such an honor to be here. So a little bit about myself. I'm a mother of two little girls, and by trade, I'm a psychotherapist. I've been working with women and working with trauma and life transitions for the better part of the last 2 decades. By craft, I'm a poet and an herbalist and a self-identified witch, which runs very deep on a lot of levels into all of this. And yeah, just a nutshell, I've been writing since I was seven, maybe, and I only actually started really embracing that and putting my work out into the world this past May. And then since then, it's really been a lot of opening and kind of a whirlwind in a really, really beautiful way. And that's kind of where I'm finding myself right now.
Well, your talent is very apparent. I was reading one particular poem, How to Hermit Crab, which I absolutely loved. Your descriptions were really incredible there. It brought me right to where you were. I have family used to take me to Rehoboth Beach in Delaware all the time. And I had distinct memories of searching for hermit crabs at these little shops. We would go, they would have the painted shells, which is so cruel.
Yeah, no, right. Little
Like,
Batman.
yeah, tie dye, you know, shells. But also the invisible dogs. I don't know if you remember invisible dogs. I'm much older than most people, but there was a leash made out of rope that was very stiff that looked like you were walking in it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I was obsessed with finding it as a kid. We never they were sold out everywhere we go. But when I was reading that poem, for some reason it brought me back there. So it was really great.
I love
Thank
that.
you for that.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, it was really great. And so I'll ask you our first question.
Sure.
The first question is, could you give us a moment in your life when you realized that language had power?
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful question. Um, it's interesting because I was thinking about the moment where I embraced my poet, like my inner poet. But the idea of language having power was definitely well before then. Like I said, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. I always just thought it was normal. I thought everybody did that and had that voice in their head that they just listened to and transcribed. Um, but I feel like it was my early adolescence, when there was just this, of course there's so much happening on every level, but there was a lot happening and a lot processing. And I remember the flow to the pen, to the paper in some really critical moments in my life. And that almost kind of, I was going to say transmutation, but that magical process of being able to have something deep inside of me that I couldn't process, I couldn't place anywhere, but then putting it out into words on a piece of paper,
Mhm,
and how cathartic and how just powerful that was, and
mhm.
having those words there out of me. Um, I mean, I feel like that was my lifeline, but even more than that, that was like my spark. Like that was my magic in a way. Um, yeah.
Did you ever go back and look at like some of your older things and how the importance they had at that moment? And almost like maybe that you let when you write it down, you let it out into the ether and therefore don't have to carry it anymore? Is that something that you because as a young person, that's how I would write down what was really angering me and then like rip it up or never send it or just like Facebook. Like I write these diatribes where I just erase them, but it
It's
makes me feel better.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny. My mom always keeps everything. I don't know how she does it, but like we have a very small ranch and just everything is preserved somewhere, maybe in the attic. I don't know, mystical place. But she always kept my journals that I would kind of put aside, and I always kept them too. So yeah, it took me a long time to be able to go back to it, but in the last like 5 or so years, I actually started opening them back up and reading them. And it, there was like, I mean, I'm a psychotherapist. I do the trauma work. I do the EMDR. Like I do that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and it's very impactful. And also something about like holding that part of yourself from 10 years, from 20 years ago, and kind of
Mhm.
holding space for that by reading the poetry was wildly impactful. Yeah, so I do go back. And it's funny, I actually have a piece that I submitted for publication, and with through Gut Slut Press, through one of their contests, and it placed. So it was something that,
Oh,
yeah, it was something that I wrote and painted when I probably about 19. And then that was like a whole cathartic, like, oh my gosh, one thing to read it, but then to actually submit it. So yeah, I
yeah,
might
that's
start doing that.
congratulations. That's
Thank you.
really cool.
Thanks.
That's so cool. All right. So what is your writing kryptonite?
My writing kryptonite. Oh, that's a good question. I have a few. A few. um, okay, so my professional, no, my writing kryptonite. Um, it's actually really interesting. I and I'm trying to reconcile this. So I my the way my brain works is that I just have that voice running at all times. So I'll be making pancakes and I'll have a poem come to me, or I'll be like making the bed and I have to get a thought out, or if I'm in the shower and something comes in, and I don't know if anybody else in the world feels this, but I get like a pang of anxiety, like I need to write it down or maybe stop the shower midway so I can transcribe it. Um, so it's like always, always, always there.
Mhm.
But it's also hard to be a person when that happens. So I know, and I've gotten a lot more understanding of how my brain works in the last 5 years. Slowing down my brain to be able to do things that are functional can sometimes inhibit my writing. And I'm trying to reconcile that
Mm,
now.
mm,
Yeah, it's, it- yeah, it's interesting. But on the other side of that is that I've also done a lot to kind of get mentally healthier, physically and mentally
mhm.
healthier in the last handful of years. And I used to think my writing was tied into like being in a really deep emotional space, or, opening a bottle of wine and, just letting it all flow out. Um, but once I actually started putting that stuff aside and like getting mentally healthier, I stopped drinking, and I actually find that my writing has improved. So that was cool. So I don't know if that even answers the question. I've
It
yet,
does answer. It
yeah,
does because it's a
I've yet to
similar
strike a
kryptonite.
balance between like
Mhm.
chaos and order, and um,
Tenuous balance. Yes.
yeah, I don't know exactly what that looks like. I used to write, like I said, in the middle of the night by fire and wine and all of that stuff. And now I'm trying to wake up early every day. And I'm finding that connecting with the candles and the moon, like as long as I find that somehow, I can
Mm,
keep that flow
mhm.
going.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't write,
Mm.
how would you express your creativity? What was something you would do to express creativity?
Um, so if I couldn't write, I used to paint a lot,
Mm,
painting and charcoal, which kind of still would interweave with the writing. I would say it would be through the plant work.
mm,
I'm the two places where I feel the most connected are with my poetry and with my plants.
mhm.
So if when I'm gardening, when I'm planting new seeds, or even just kind of tending and dusting my plants and watering, like that feels still much, even though I guess it's not um, technically creative, or it's not doesn't fall kind of under that typical creative outlet. There's still something about being in that flow and in that space that feels very connected to when I write poetry.
Well, to me, it feels very creative. Plant work. It's funny, the plant you have behind you, I literally have sitting over here. I'll take you on a tour
Oh,
of
I
my
would love
plant.
that.
It's huge. And I'm like, oh, we have the same plant. That's the one I dust.
Yeah, right. Yes, she
That's the
requires
one I
it.
dust the leaves. Um, but that is creative. It's like, you're a mom of two. I'm a mom of three, all old and out of the home. But I that is creative.
Yeah.
You're You are creating something from a seed and tending it and paying attention to its needs.
Yeah.
Just like your creative process through your writing, you have to pay attention to your needs through your writing. It's very similar, and you're bringing forth something beautiful. And it's a tenuous thing. It's life. So I really think it's very creative. So yes, it does. That is a very creative endeavor. Plant work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
And
I'm
it's
trying to think.
spell casting, right? It's like
Yeah.
all the same. It's all the same. It's tapping into that ineffable, like that space that gives you chills.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of the last question. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, which is never a good thing. Like you, I have another question for you.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
a minute.
it's if what is something that hinders you in your writing process? Like, what's the hardest part of your process? What do you struggle to get through?
If I try to write a poem, I'm out.
Hmm.
um, I find when my thinking self gets too involved, when I kind of, I mean, I so admire folks who are able to say, like, I'm going to sit down and write, working on a long-term novel, or working on, yeah, kind of each bit at a time. If I sit down with the intention of having to write something, for some reason it psychs me out.
Hmm.
Um, and it has to be, um, yeah, I feel like it kind of has to be somewhat of even either an organic flow, which I'm trying to create and tap into early mornings, or it has to be kind of under immense crunch. Like, I do some of my best work when I get those really quick submission calls, and I have, a strike of inspiration, and I write the whole thing down in 15 minutes and send it out. Those tend to
Hmm.
typically be the ones that resonate the strongest with people.
You seem to be an inspired writer because you were saying in the shower it comes to you. During other
Yeah.
For me, it's the same way. I
I,
have to be completely disengaged from the work to do the work. So
mhm.
if I'm at work doing my job, typing away, all of a sudden I'll go, oh, I'm gonna put Word up and just start doing this because I have a phone and I'm not doing my work, but I'm doing this. And they're
Yes.
awesome. Like, oh, why did that? It comes fully downloaded into the top of
Yeah.
your brain like an incantation, and you're just there it is. And then as soon as someone says, we're gonna write, like, Kelly, could you write this? I'm just like, I can't do that. I look at it, sounds dumb. You know what I mean? My husband and I write songs. He's a musician, and he'll start playing, and I'm not paying any attention to him. Like, really, I'm doing something else, but then all of a sudden a piece of paper comes out and here comes the lyrics based
Yeah.
on what he's doing. It can't be, come on, let's sit down and write a song. It can't be that. I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's
interesting.
it. I think I had something the other day. I was just jotting out, and it like that analogy of trying to look at the stars. Like when you try to stare at it directly, it's just gone. And I feel like that all the time. Like I used to have to write papers, in grad school and stuff, and it was, I'd have this like divine inspiration, but then it was in this structure, and it was a have to and supposed to, and
Mhm.
it would be agonizing.
Yeah. All
Shower.
right, one where one final question is, what's something that you do in your life that makes you feel free?
Hmm. The immediate image that came into my mind was sitting outside with my eyes closed and just being in the nothingness and everything at once. Um, yeah, that in the silence, in that, like, in that void, in that stillness, especially when out in nature, is just the most expansive, inspiring place to me. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. That's really lovely. Well, I would like to have you have the opportunity to plug what you're working on, anything you're going to be appearing, give your website for people to go learn more about you.
Thank you. That'd be great. So my website is laurentheresa.com. and it has just a little bit about me, and some of my works are up there as well. And I am very excited. I actually haven't put this up on the website yet because I just signed the contract. But my first book, chapbook, Lost Things, is going to be out in August.
Oh gosh, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be out. Bullshit Literary Mag and Press is
Nice.
going to be publishing it, and I've been working with Veronica, and she's amazing, and she's wildly talented. So, oh my gosh, I just got the. We've been going back and forth with the cover art, and it's messed up. It's. I'm so excited. But this is like it's a piece I'm just absolutely in love with. So it's just kind of a fragmented, linear, but I mean not linear, spiral, but somehow connected journey through fragments, some parts of my life that kind of all tie in together, and each piece of it gets broken into by the an old Brooklyn Italian Saint Anthony prayer woven through. So it's I'm very excited, very very excited. I'm very happy and excited that this is my first like bigger published piece and that they're doing it. So that's the news. That's the big stuff.
Hey,
Yeah.
big news. So I'm
Thank
super
you.
excited. I'm actually going to check that out. I know I probably know we have a book club. So the fact that you're doing a chapbook is exciting because we like to do people who are an independent published authors and do a little review and a little fun thing with them. So thank you for letting us know that. So we'll be looking for that in August. That's very exciting.
I love that. Thank you so much. Oh, I'd be honored. Awesome.
Very cool. All right. So that concludes our interview, but please check out Lauren Theresa. She's awesome. Very intriguing person. I really loved this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Me too.